Folks, welcome into SportsBookReview.com's roundtable discussion. Today I have an esteemed panel of Jay and Flash. We're going to get to a number of topics throughout the season, but today we are going to focus on the NFL because even though nothing is going on the gridiron, a lot is going on behind the scenes. I'm going to start with you first here, Flash. The off-season operational impacts, and the reason why I love to have you on this panel is you come from a professional perspective of how things work because as we know, just in our day-to-day lives being non-professionals, these guys are used to regiments. Now they're upset. Now they can't work out. You're in the middle of a season. You're not in the middle of a season. When's the season going to get going? Flash, talk from a perspective of being there, having done that, where if you get interrupted, it's not life as normal in these sports.
No, it's not. And good morning, Donnie. Yes, structure is everything. It's just basically you get yourself in tune. You know when you're going to go back to work. Now you can do so much at home. But when you're so isolated, you probably lose 20, 25% of that competitive environment. And also you've got new coaches coming in. And if the new coach is coming in, and you was maybe a backup and you weren't a regular starter last year, you're hungry, you're chomping at the bit to impress this new coach so that you can start your career.
Flash, it's always interesting to talk to you about this perspective as well because, in the United States, we're in our free agency period, which I guess within soccer or football would be, the transition period or when you're looking to make the transfers. Can you imagine being part of it where the regiment's coming, teams are going to shift. There's a lot of money out there in the collective bargaining agreement that just got improved. Now it's going to shut down completely at this time because the top end guys are in, but those guys in the middle level and the bottom levels, the guys that are used to filling out the final 10 to 15 spots on your roster, you can't get them in for physicals. You can't get them in to sign contracts to do everything. So everything is frozen. Even though that top level moves, the bottom level in the middle, just to fill out those NFL teams, it seems like it's come to a halt.
Yeah, and that's where the big problem lies because you're not going to be able to have your practice squads. You're not going to be able to have everything that you want in place to push forward. And then obviously people may come in, but having that settled environment and knowing that everyone else is doing, because remember, there's a chain. And you're only as strong as the weakest part of that chain. And if you've got a new coach coming in and a new quarterback coming in, then you're at a massive disadvantage.
It's going to be interesting to watch to see as it plays out. Jay, I'm going to bring you here on this because, you're a Jets fan. I'm an Eagles fan, both based out of the eastern seaboard, so to speak, here in New Jersey, looking at things as they go. Look, these teams are used to getting the OTAs. These teams are used to practicing. They're used to showing up to the gym at the same time with their personal trainers. That's all impacted and may even be down 30 days, 60 days of when they get started up because when we've taken a look at the lockouts of the past where these teams were able to reload and get ready, they're still working out on the side. Now it looks like we're going to have some impacts here on teams just being able to get to the facilities.
Yeah, Donnie, everything is fluid. Everything is tentative right now, right? And to me, what Flash just said, what it all comes down to me, is your personal work ethic when nobody is around, because that's all you can do right now. I'm looking at tentative dates of April 4th right now for new head coaches can finally start their off-season practices. And for teams that have coaching staffs that have been in place, April 20th looks to seem to be the date. Now, luckily, all the players on these teams, I'm sure, are getting full off-season lists of what they can and can't do from their strength and conditioning coaches in terms of their home gym. But there's no doubt, man, that the impact of this COVID-19 virus that it's having on the professional leagues is going to be impactful. And I really do believe that it's going to be impactful most by the leagues that have yet to start. When the NBA goes back in, they're going to be fine. They've played 60 games of their season already. But for teams like the NFL, leagues like the NFL, and Major League Baseball, everything gets pushed back a month or two in terms of their routine. And I think that it could easily stunt the progression of these teams early in the seasons. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. But like we said, Donnie, everything can change day to day.
Yep, Flash, we talk about things all the time, like, who's getting paid, who's not going to get paid. But let's also have the impact of the NFL draft coming up. A lot of these teams, again, are routine with dozens of scouts on the road making individual appearances to try to meet these guys, interview them, work them out themselves. That's not going to be the case in this one. So we might head to Las Vegas even if we're going to have the draft still in Las Vegas, obviously nobody's going to be on the Strip, and they'll probably call it in. It'll be much more of a toned down party atmosphere, if it even happens at all. But there's a lot of stuff to come out because you have some of these teams that have vetted these players. And of course, we all go to Indianapolis and the teams send guys in and you watch guys run fast in a straight line, get about 15 minutes to interview them. But you take that more in-depth approach in the offseason when you get to meet these guys individual, have them into your facility. That's not going to happen. So these teams that are usually on the case and doing their vetting, that's not going to take place this year. Talk about the effect, maybe, Flash, of teams bringing in guys, and maybe you're sitting there saying when the draft board's actually coming up, boy, I really would have liked to have these 3 guys in to talk to them individually. That's not going to happen this year. So mistakes might be able to be made here in the draft when usually you can cover yourself.
Yeah, I think the big one coming from the scouting side of things is, well, obviously what was my job with Leicester City, was that we're 100% sure when we press the button. I think teams are now going to maybe be only 90% sure, but they're going to be forced to press the button because the scouting would have gone as a visual for maybe the last 2 years, then it goes down to the last 6 months. And then once you're ready and you're 100%, the only thing then is actually sitting down, understanding the mentality, because some of these are unbelievable athletes. They can connect, but then have they got the mental side of the game, and are they going to be able to take on all the information? And that might be the 5% that says, you know what, we've got someone that's maybe not as good, but mentally and taking on information and being able to execute, they're going to be better in the long run. So for me, I think they may be rushed, and they may just press the button on someone that they thought was going to be good, and they might just get upset.
Yeah, just starting and stopping it. I always used to joke about, playing football, is that we would have the Labor Day weekend off. So usually go to summer camp and you're working through for 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks, and you get those 2 days off and you come back and it's usually your worst practice of the year. I can only imagine other sports starting and stopping and just try to get right back on it. It seems like the NFL gets a little bit lucky here, but as always, there are built-in advantages for some of these teams. Jay, I'm going to start with you first. When we look in the NFC East, for myself, being a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, I can only hope and say, you know what? Moving into this season, head coach, team is still intact, quarterback is still intact, scouts are still intact, GMs are still intact. This is a team that maybe if they miss some OTAs or can't start up into actual training camp come July, might have some built-in advantages over the New York Giants, Washington Redskins, and the Dallas Cowboys that have all changed their coaches. Talk about some teams that might have an advantage to you heading into this and can use this time down as an actual advantage.
Yeah, I mean, teams that are going to have the advantage early are going to be teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, the San Francisco 49ers. They're built in their ways right now. They know what they're going to do. Andy Reid has Kansas City wound like a clock. And Shanahan has proven, although he's only been the coach for a couple years, that, he runs a top-notch organization in San Francisco. Teams that are going to have issues early, a team like the Carolina Panthers, new head coach comes in. Now a new quarterback comes in. Teddy Bridgewater gets picked up from the Saints. So that's a team where the two most important people in the organization are new and now have less time to prepare. So I think, yeah, go ahead. I was just going to say, I think that the teams that were in the playoffs last year that are coming back with everybody intact are going to have a huge advantage on teams like a team like Carolina.
Absolutely. Flash, when you talk about changing up things, I know you have some interesting points here that we're going to bring up in the NFL with some teams with some advantages or disadvantages. But even from your own perspective, when you get a manager that quote unquote gets sacked and now he says, I'm going to change the offensive approach, I'm going to change the defensive approach. If you don't have a long time, or let's just say a month or 2 or even 3 to get that approach settled, so by the time you take the field, everybody's on the same page, that can have a big impact here for us.
Yeah, and you also want to know very early on the mentality and which direction you're going to go in. And the big one I'll pick on is Matt Rule. Obviously, at the Panthers, he's got a new quarterback in. But because it's his first big job, I know he's been at Baylor, but he's going to be conservative. Now, if you then get a new quarterback and you ask him to be conservative, because you've got to win football matches, then the whole place gets a little bit deflated because we want to go and score points. We want to dominate teams. Now, you need to know what you're going to get. Now, you've got Mike McCarthy at the Cowboys, who's got a great offense, but he's lost some of his D. So if he loses some of his D, then he's got to go in there and go, right, our offense is okay. So if we're going to win football matches, we've got to make sure that our D is up to standard. And the other thing I was going to say, Donny, going on from what Jay said, was the biggest advantage for me is the teams like your Saints, your Chiefs, your Ravens, your Titans, and your 49ers, because of the rest they're going to get. Because remember, they had an extra month of last season, so if anyone was banged up, they're giving them a little bit more time to get back and be healthy. So not only have they got the continuity of everything, they're going to be fresh and ready to go.
Yep, this video topic here on sportsbookreview.com. We're going to come to you daily here with these roundtable discussions, a varied panel hitting all topics in all sports to keep you guys involved. As always, check out @SBR Sports Picks on Twitter. Also give us a follow there and check out our YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button. For everybody on the panel today, for Jay, Flash, and myself, thanks for tuning into the roundtable on sportsbookreview.com.